we're going to do wrist flexion. So if we're doing flexor carpi ulnaris and flexor carpi radialis, we're just going to have her flex her wrist up. Again, if she can do that, that's a 3. So in this exercise, we're going to do 3 different muscles. We're going to do a combination, actually not 3 different muscles, 3 different motions. A combination of radialis and ulnaris together. We're going to isolate just the ulnaris and isolate just the radialis, okay? So this is what we learned last time, where we do just flexion all together. Again, if we do that like I just did, I have to then let her hand come back down and then go back up without my assistance. That gives her a 3. If we're going to do a 4 or a 5, we're bringing her up in that position. I'm just pushing straight down. That's going to get us our 4 or a 5. If she wants to do a 2, we put her in kind of that neutral position, and we'll just come across, yep, that way. So that gets her a 2. And that's if we're talking about like global all flexors, all right? Simply changing it to flexor carpi ulnaris. All we're going to do is we're going to tell her to come up and ulnarly deviate like that. So she's going to do that. My difference is going to be I'm going to radially deviate and extend. So I'm going to be like this, and I'm going to try to pull down and toward her thumb. If I'm wanting to do flexor carpi radialis, I'm more in this fashion, and I'm going to go down and toward her pinky. All right? So that's how I would get a 4 or a 5. Does she break or does she hold still? Same thing on this. I put her in this position if I want to do a 2. This is a little bit awkward in that if I do flexor carpi ulnaris, that's technically the ulnar deviation is assisted by gravity. I can't have flexion and ulnar deviation gravity eliminated. So since it's more of a flexion test we're doing here, I do it in this. And flexor carpi radialis, I'm doing like that. Again, that's actually against gravity on the radial deviation, but we can't do both gravity eliminated. Understand? If we're going to palpate, everyone knows how to find the palmaris longus. You usually kind of either flex or kind of make kind of palm like that. It's usually the most prominent tendon that pops out. That's usually your palmaris longus. All right? Just lateral to the palmaris longus. So if you'll do that, kind of there you go. Perfect. Let it relax. Just lateral to, so just to the thumb side too, that's the flexor carpi radialis tendon, all right? And then remember the flexor carpi ulnaris runs into the pisiform, so it's going to be just proximal to the base of the 5th here. So if I'm here, and if I have her bend it up and go that way, I should be able to feel that tendon kind of pop into my finger, all right? So radialis is just lateral to palmaris longus, ulnaris is off the pisiform if we're palpating. So that's how we're going to find a 1, right? If we need a 1, that's going to be it. Opposite of that, again, we learned 2 weeks ago that just doing group extensors is just that. So if she does that, that gets her a 3. If I want to stabilize and push, that's going to get me a 4 or a 5. And if I'm going to bring her like this and bring it out, that's going to give me a 2. All right? In this, we have 2 extensor carpi radialis. We have a longus and a brevis. We don't differentiate between those from manual muscle testing, though. We test them as a group, all right? So, extensor carpi radialis, longus and brevis, we're going to radially deviate. Again, my pressure is going to be ulnarly deviating and flexing. If I want to do extensor carpi ulnaris, she's ulnarly deviating. I'm radially deviating and flexing, okay? We palpate those. Again, if we want to do that in 2, we would again be in this position. The problem with the 2 position, again, is radialis is against gravity, ulnaris is gravity assisted, but we're still just doing extension, okay? So I would still put them in that position to get a 2. The brevis, if we're in this position, if we want to palpate, the ulnaris comes to the base of the 5th, right? Let me make sure I got this right. The brevis comes to the 3rd, and the longus comes to the 2nd. So if I take right down my finger in this position, kind of palpate there, have you extend up. So extend your, yeah, perfect. That tendon that pops into your finger there is the extensor carpi radialis longus. If you're on 2, brevis would be on 3, and ulnaris would be on 5. So if we're trying to palpate, that's where we're going to try to palpate those tendons after insertion of 5, 3, and 2. All right, metacarpals. Let's do one more. This is lumbricals. Lumbricals do this. We learned last time in class that we had one of our tendon glides is called a rooftop. That's a lumbrical. Sometimes when we talk about a lumbrical grip, it's like that, like if you're having a sandwich, it's a lumbrical grip. So lumbricals and interossei are MP flexors. So we would like to do this, but that's gravity assisted, and we want to make sure we take out the digitorums, flexor digitorum. So the starting position is extended MP joints and flexed IP joints. So we're in this position like that. And then to get a 3, you're uncurling your fingers and straightening your MP. So that's the motion. It basically is doing that, right? But we just need to do it against gravity. So that gets us a 3, all right? We're going to individually test the lumbricals. So when she gets into that position, so start there, straighten your fingers up. I'm going to just press with one finger. Again, I'm not going to press at the tip because that's going to get my flexor digitorum involved. I'm going to try to press down right above the MP joint, and I'm just pressing into extension and having it hold into MP flexion. So that would get me a 4 or a 5. This would get me a 2. All right? Because gravity's eliminated there. These are deep muscles that are not palpable unless you have significant atrophy in the hand. So a 1 would be partial range. So if I could come from here to kind of something like that, that would be a partial range. So 1 in this case is not palpable, it's partial range. We're going to see that a little bit in the hand. It's quite difficult to differentiate between some of these muscles that are kind of grouped together. We're going to be able to palpate some tendons, but a lot of times a 1 is hard to find, so it's just going to be a partial range of motion. Okay?